Yeah!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for tuning in to episode 5 of To Be Frank. It has been over a month since we have done an episode, and by we, I mean me. So I appreciate you being here. Been a busy month, still trying to work through this business, having a newborn, all that stuff. Would love to get the fizz back going, love to get the boys back involved, but for now, you just get me. You just get me on To Be Frank. And there's no shortage of things to talk about today. But before we get into all of that, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor of the To Be Frank podcast, and that is Antonio's Cucina Italiana, a true Michigan staple when it comes to authentic Italian food. We're talking handmade pastas, rich sauces, and the kind of dishes that feel like they've been passed down for generations because they have. Family-owned company, they've been around forever. This is my favorite Italian place in all of the world. Whether it's date night, family dinner, or you just want a legit Italian meal that actually hits, Antonio's delivers every single time. The atmosphere, classic, warm, and exactly what you want when you're sitting down for a great family Italian meal. They've got multiple locations across Michigan, so go check them out. You're never too far from a spot that's doing it right. They also have their Roman Village location in Dearborn. Go check them out, Antonio's Cucina Italiana. We appreciate your sponsorship of the show. But let's get into it. Let's catch up with each other. So most recently, hit opening day, one of the most exciting days in the city. This year was an absolute treat. Got spoiled this year with 70-degree weather. Ice cold Brulou made it down. We hung out all day, interviewed the fine folks around Comerica, and it was jammed. It was absolutely jam-packed downtown, and for good reason. We got a Friday, we got 70 degrees. It just worked out perfectly. And I would actually petition every year for opening day that the Tigers don't get the actual opening day, which they don't get game 1 of 1. Give us a week to warm up here in Michigan. Let's send the Tigers on a road trip for like 2 weeks or a week like we did, and then bring them home and try to hit that sweet spot because Friday rocked, warm weather rocked, and it was just a great time out there. Like I said, ice cold Brulou made the trip down. There was a cameo appearance from Chaney Football. Chaney Football has been a little elusive lately, but we were happy to get him on there. He asked me about Yzerman. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to do that right away. I don't want to start that off. But opening day rocked. We saw a lot of good people down there. Yeah. Opening day in Detroit, which I feel like some people don't know, and I didn't realize for the first few years I was going, is that doesn't happen in every city. Apparently that is just a Detroit, and someone told me a Cincinnati thing. I'm just surprised. You'd think that would be a big deal in Chicago, Boston, maybe even New York. But apparently, and even these smaller markets, St. Louis, Kansas City, but apparently opening day is not the St. Patrick's Day style party that it is in other cities. So very unique to Detroit. It needs to be made a statewide holiday. It's just people need to have that day off. It's a beautiful day in the city, and it's a good day for baseball. Other things happening here in the early April weeks. It's a good time for sports. It should be a good time for sports, right? It's April in the D, it's supposed to be. Things are falling apart around us for a couple of teams. And then the Masters are going on. So I've been watching the Masters, probably the most dialed into the Masters I've ever been. Obviously, we're recording at Thursday at 3:30, so we're very early into the tournament. But this is, for whatever reason, maybe I'm getting older. I don't know what it is, but this is the most I've been into the Masters, most I've ever appreciated it. And maybe that's just a trend for all of golf in general, there is just a rising interest in the game that seems to have happened after COVID. And as I've said many times, and those who know me and those who have listened to anything I've ever said about golf, is I'm absolutely one of those COVID golfers. I'm probably the guy that people who have been golfing for a long time, they yell shrink at. They yell shrink the game to. And that's okay. I try to be respectful as I can, but at the end of the day, I am a 20 handicap, and I'm not good at the game yet. And now I'm taking an interest in the Masters. Now I'm talking about it online, and I don't know shit in reality compared to people who've been golfing their whole lives and these golf snobs and all these people. But one thing I can relate to them about, or at least agree with them about, being chronically online and on Twitter, is the Masters merch. Now, I understand the excitement and the camaraderie around hitting the Masters clubhouse and buying thousands of dollars worth of merchandise while you're there. I've never been to the Masters. I will go one day, but never been. And I'd spend a fuck ton in the pro shop as well. But you're looking at Twitter and you're looking at the internet and you're seeing all of these different items come out. And some of them just, they're just downright not Masters quality or classy. I don't know how the best word to use to describe them, but they don't feel like that exclusive Augusta Masters merchandise. And in particular, I'm talking about a photo that's going around the internet. I'm sure you've seen it if you're following the Masters, if you're on Twitter, chronically online, is just like the hats that read things like Peaches or Azalea or Patron or Skip It. And it's in that giant font, the giant Masters font, and it's on a rope hat, and all the colors are kind of out of control. The Azalea one is like a pink. The Peaches one is obviously an orange. And to me, these look like Gratiot and Grospec-esque gas station hats. They don't look like Masters Clubhouse hats. And I could understand. I'm part of probably the shrink crowd, but people who are really into golf and these high-end golfers who are part of country clubs and things like that, they probably make you want to throw up. They probably disgust you. And even from just an aesthetic standpoint, I can't stand them either. I don't like them at all. So I feel your pain. There's some polos out there too that seem to not be up to that Masters cut and all of that. But yeah, I'm just curious, how it's gotten to that point. And I bet you they're going to sell out every single one of those hats and all of that merchandise. But I do agree. I do agree that it doesn't look great. And I'm calling myself a shrink type of golfer. I try to be respectful. I try to play fast. But at the end of the day, like I said, I got hand-me-down clubs. I'm still a 20 handicap. I'm not part of a country club. But I want to be out there and I want to be good at golf, and I'm trying to take the right steps to be better at it. I can't wait for this year of golf. We are in a new league. We used to play at Rambler. We have now moved that to East Side Detroit, and we're going to be playing at the prestigious Chandler Park golf course this year. Very, very excited about it. So that'll be my Thursday league. I've had old pings clubs that were hand-me-downs of my buddy's father-in-law for a while now. And they've done great. They've done awesome. But I think I'm at the point where it's time to graduate. I'm going to get my own irons for the first time ever. Going to go get fitted, do that whole experience. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've never done it. Any club I've ever had someone else has given me. Besides, I bought myself a putter last year on discount. There's a whole thing behind that. But I am excited to get new irons this year. And like I said, I'm sitting at like a 20, 21 handicap. It would be a dream. It's like a dream of mine to get to 15. I don't think I can probably do that in the summer. I think I tried to do that last summer and I went from, like a 24 to a 21. So I really just want to get to a 15 because then I would feel mildly more comfortable. I feel like the 20 is just like egregiously a little embarrassing. So we want to drop this thing down. Maybe it'll help playing at Chandler Park. Chandler Park's the only place I've ever broken 90. Says a lot about the course, less about me. But I am just like so excited for golf season. And the way those sports work for me, golf and hockey, is just like when I'm done with hockey, we got eliminated in the finals this year for beer league. I'm like done. It's just like I don't want to play hockey. Like I don't want to touch a stick or a skate. By the time February and March are done, like I'm done. I love hockey. It's my favorite sport in the whole world, and I'm actually decent at it, unlike golf. But when that season's done, I am just so done. I just want to play golf. And the exact same thing's going to happen to me towards the end of like September, mid-September. I'm just going to say like, fuck this, it's hockey season. I don't want to play golf ever again. So really itching to get out on the golf course. League doesn't start till May 7th, so we have another month to go. But we're going to get the new irons. We're going to get fitted. It's going to be a good time. And I've been reaching out to all my golf buddies, because there's so much with fucking golf. There is like so much to learn and understand and to think about and just to try to learn a whole new sport is there's just a lot. So like when I'm picking up the clubs, I also just want to make sure I'm not getting like the loser clubs. Like is there a brand that like immediately is like what's this guy doing, or this guy's a clown? So I really want to like make sure I'm not messing that up. Obviously, I'm going to pick what I like and choose what I like, but there's just some brands and there's some stereotypes around things, and I want to be cognizant of that before I make my decision. Like if I'm choosing to be that type of guy on the course, I want to at least know. So follow me along my golf journey. That's what's happening this summer. That's my golf story, and I'm sticking to it. So Masters week, baby. We're excited. We're having fun. It's a good time. Masters week is in April. Pretty much every year besides that weird COVID year when I started playing. April in the D. Here we are. Let's talk about April in the D. April in the D at the beginning of March looked like it was going to be a restoration of years past. It looked like we were going to have a true April in the fucking D. We were going to have the Pistons as the number 1 seed in the East. The Red Wings undoubtedly were making the playoffs. I thought they'd be one of the top 3 in the Atlantic until March hit. And the Tigers, favorite to win the division, good roster, hell, in the World Series conversation. It looked like in Detroit we were going to get April in the D, as we all knew from our Fox Sports days from the 2000s, mid 2000s, and that has not been the case. That has not been the case whatsoever. And right up front, I just want to apologize to the Detroit Pistons. Like, you guys have been a steady ship, a beacon in the night, the shining star in Detroit sports and in Michigan, and I know the least about you. There is no secret about that. I'm not going to sit here and break down Pistons rotations. I can say I'm very excited that Cade is back from his lung injury, which you guys fought through and won more games than you lost. What'd you go, like 7-3 during that time? Maybe even better. Clinched the number 1 overall seed without the best player in the NBA, arguably the best player in the NBA. The Red Wings cannot say the same. The Red Wings lose players and they collapse from their own weight. They don't lose players and they collapse from their own weight from under them. So I'm apologizing to the Pistons for not giving you the attention you absolutely deserve. Like, it's almost like ho-hum, you just keep winning. Ho-hum, you've won the East. I will lock in for the playoffs. I absolutely will lock in for the playoffs. Frankie Hoops will check in. He will watch every single playoff game. He will live tweet like an idiot because he doesn't know basketball that much, but he'll be there. And I'll have my Pistons hard hat construction hat on, and we're going to be hyped. That's going to be the hype part of April in the D, is the Detroit Pistons playoffs. Now, I don't feel bad about this. I have said always, from beginning till now, till always, I am a bandwagon Pistons fan. My interest is about as high as they are good. But, if I was being a better fan, I should be watching every one of their games. Instead, I am giving all of my attention to the Detroit Red Wings. Now, obviously, the Red Wings are my favorite team in all of sports. I live and die with everything that they do, and pressure's never been higher on them than right now. So I'm not apologizing for giving all my attention to the Red Wings, but I want to say sorry for not giving enough to the Pistons, because the Pistons deserve it, and the Red Wings really do not. The Red Wings have beyond ripped my heart out during this March and April. And just when you think like it can't get worse than what's happened over the past 2 seasons, they somehow find a way to put the knife in you and twist it. And I think this year, more than any Red Wings season ever, this one has been the most gut-wrenching. And I can actually say that with pretty clean confidence. Like, I am trying to imagine another season where the Red Wings have made me this upset, with all things considered, worse than this year. And I can't think of it. Now, the worst moment ever for the Detroit Red Wings was the 2009 Stanley Cup Finals, which I don't even want to talk about. That's the worst moment in sports I ever dealt with. that was the worst thing ever. But at least they had just won the Stanley Cup and they were like 4 seconds away from it. It's a different type of pain. That is pure heartbreak on the goal line of winning the Stanley Cup. This is a whole new mind-bending nightmare that we are dealing with. And the largest looming casting shadow on this whole thing is that my hero, my idol, my favorite athlete, Steve Yzerman, is the GM of this team. And, you know, anyone who has followed or knows anything about Champaign athletics, like, it is very hard for me to bring myself to say a crossword about Yzerman. And for most of this season, which is season 7, it's been a smooth ride for most of it. Because it looked like they were going to make the playoffs, and it seemed like they weren't just going to make the playoffs, they were going to be a top 3 in the Atlantic and comfortably make the playoffs. And then everyone would be quiet about the Yzer plan and the direction we're going. And ever since March has started, all of that has collapsed from under me. And there's a lot of blame to be given, and we're all looking for who to blame in this Red Wings collapse. And you can blame literally almost everybody to some extent. There's maybe one person in the whole scheme of it all that is without blame, and I would probably say that's Alex DeBrincat. He's played fantastic. He's been the only consistent player on the ice scoring goals. And maybe number 2, Moritz Seider. Moritz Seider's having a career year. He's playing unbelievable defense. I would give the slight edge to Alex DeBrincat for no blame. But as far as real blame goes, it's like, who do you point the finger at? And, you know, let's start with coaching. Just because this is probably the easiest one for me to speak to. Like, Todd McClellan seems to say everything right in the media. He seems to be like a guy I would like. He seems to know how to, I don't want to say pander, but at least say the right things to a Detroit sports media. You know, no bullshit, play fucking hockey. I'm trying to fire these guys up. These guys are fucking jerseys, all this stuff. He shares our frustration. And while we look at that and we say, that's awesome, Todd McClellan must be doing a great job, there's clearly a disconnect between what we hear in the media and what's happening in the locker room. Now, whether you decide that that's a player problem or a coach problem or a share of the both, which I would probably say it's a little bit of the share of the both, that's your choice. I don't have the answer. I don't know what it is. I know Todd McClellan's never won a Stanley Cup as a head coach. I know he's bounced around a lot of places. Was he a quick Band-Aid due to Lalonde being such a disaster of a head coach? I don't know. But he does have to share some of this blame, because even if he's doing all he can to motivate that locker room, it's not working. And why is that? Well, now let's go to the players. Okay, let's look at all the players. There are a lot of nights that we look completely flat, and it's mind-blowing to think we could look so flat given the circumstances of everything, of not just this season, but the pressure of the organization, the pressure of the playoff drought, the place in the standings that they were in heading into March. It blows your mind when we play teams with much less to play for, how they outperform us. And a lot of that heat is coming down on Dylan Larkin. And look, Dylan Larkin is a 30-goal scorer for the last 5 years. He is, year over year, one of our most consistent offensive output. Does it feel like he's missing the it factor to be the A1 guy captain of the Detroit Red Wings? Yes, absolutely. Anybody watching these games has to feel that way with his post-game interviews, with how these teams collapse, how it happens, all of that. Yes, there's some sort of disconnect with Dylan Larkin. Now, am I sitting here saying, let's ship him off, let's blast him into outer space, let's crucify him for this? No. Do I think Larkin would be much more suited as the number 2 on a team, as an assistant captain? Maybe not the leadership role in one of the most prestigious captaincies in all of hockey. Yes. I think Larkin would absolutely thrive as the number 2 center and an assistant captain. And I think proof of that is when you watch Four Nations, it's when you watch the Olympics. Larkin plays free, he plays well, he plays hard, and he does that for the Red Wings, but the spotlight on him is so bright and so big that I don't think he's the type of player to live up to those expectations. Now, I hope he proves me wrong. I hope everything I'm saying is incorrect, but that's how I feel. I feel like we don't have a true number 1 on the roster right now, and I feel like we're trying to jam Dylan Larkin into that role, and it's not working. But with everything, there are a million ways to look at this. You know, Steve Yzerman did not win his first Stanley Cup as a captain until he was 32 years old. He was on the Red Wings for 13 years before that team won a Stanley Cup. But then the other side of that coin is Yzerman was a much better player. He had much higher output. He scored a lot more goals, and the teams were a lot better. They were losing in the playoffs. They were cup contenders. So it felt like they were knocking on the door of greatness. This team does not. This team does not. And now the hardest part for me to talk about, but you'd be blind not to mention it or notice it or see it, is this roster, is the construction of this team and the drought of the playoffs built by none other than my hero, Steve Yzerman. What sucks is you look at the roster and you look at the bottom 6, and it is some of the worst output in the NHL we've ever seen. I mean, Rasmussen, we talk about jerseys. I mean, we're talking Rasmussen, we're talking Appleton. Why is Rasmussen still on the roster? Why did we go sign Appleton? Casper was supposed to be a top 6 guy this year. He's having a completely low production year. James Van Riemsdyk, seemed like he was having a good year and has completely fell off the map. Old guy signing 20, 29, 30-something points this year. We gave up a first-round pick unprotected to go get Falk at the deadline. And I think for me, I think there's no question that, there is no question in my mind if this guy was not Steve Yzerman, I would be screaming, bitching, and complaining about him. I mean, I have given Brad Holmes a much shorter leash than I have Steve Yzerman. I've given Scott Harris a much shorter leash than I've given Steve Yzerman. But like I've said 1,000 times, I know Steve Yzerman has earned a longer leash for everything he's done for Detroit hockey, for this city, for the brand of everything that he is. So obviously more than willing to give him a much longer leash. And while people are very frustrated with me and love to jam down my throat, Yzerman should be fired, he should be gone, I'm still going to stand right next to him and right by him during this whole thing. And he's not going to get fired. So you guys can scream and kick and piss about it all you want. Stop watching the Wings. He's not going anywhere. Now, I have no idea what the full plan is. I don't know if he's here to make drastic changes this year. I would love to know what is actually in the mind of Steve Yzerman. If he sees where we're at right now and says, this is fine, this is where we thought we'd be, and this always was going to take me 8 to 10 years, and then next year is this huge youth movement, and we see all these guys on the roster, and it's everyone Yzerman drafted. I think that's the dream. Is it going to come to fruition and be successful? I don't know. I know we have the number 4 ranked prospect pool in all of the NHL, and I am excited to see it happen. But yeah, it's been forever, and now we're about to, unless we pull off a miracle in the last 4 games, have the longest playoff drought in the NHL. And it's a nightmare. So, am I questioning what the hell the plan is? Without a doubt. Am I kicking and screaming that Yzerman should be fired? Absolutely not. because I have too much respect for him, and I appreciate him that much. And he took over a disastrous roster. He's built a very strong prospect pool. Pro signings have been pretty bad outside of DeBrincat, like halfway Gibson, who was a trade, and so was DeBrincat actually. Pro signings have been actually pretty putrid. The contracts have been pretty bad, but the draft picks have been pretty solid. And then just as unlucky as it is, and I hate to use it as an excuse, the Atlantic is the best division in hockey, bar none. Like, the Red Wings were anticipated to have 85 points this year. You know, if they can pull off a couple more wins to close the year, they're gonna fall in that 94 to 97 range. And if we're almost in any other division, we're in the playoffs. So that's some bad luck. And with the fans, and a lot of them are out there screaming for Yzerman's head and talking that he's on the hot seat, he is, for you guys. But in that office and with Illich, there's no way he's ever firing Yzerman. He's just not. So I'm more than willing to strap in for my favorite athlete of all time and root for his success until the wheels actually do fall off and it burns to the ground. And people will not agree with me and hate me for it and make fun of me for it. And that's fine. But I'm committed to Steve Yzerman. I'm committed to what he's doing. And I think if we could get a little more luck and tighten up some of these pro signings and some of these kids step up next year, who knows? Who knows? Praying for a miracle. Praying for a miracle. Wings have a 6.3% chance to make the playoffs with 4 games left to go. They pretty much need to win out. They need to beat Philly. They need to beat New Jersey, and then they got to beat both Florida teams, Florida and Tampa. And then you got to hope Ottawa loses a game, but you got to win out. I think that's absolutely imperative at this point. If they lose tonight versus Philly, I think their playoff percentage drops. It's not 0. They won't be eliminated, but it's pretty much toast. So got to win out. LGRW, rooting for you. The last piece of April in the D, the Detroit Tigers. Yuck, Tigers. 4-8. Scooble just got shelled. Torque and Riley picked up right where they left off last year, playing like dog shit. The only bright spot right now is McGonigal, which is like a meme of the bus guy looking out the bright side of the bus. Wow, McGonigal is an amazing signing. He's the best player on the Tigers by far. Sad guy looking out the bus. Jesus Christ, a rookie is the best guy on the Tigers by far. So it's early, but you definitely did not want to see a 4-8 start. Just some ugly losses, not hitting well. Feels like we picked up right where we left off last year with the Tigers. So honestly, until the Wings are officially dead and gone, which I'm hoping they're not, I hope they win out, pull off the miracle. It'd be unbelievable. It's going to be hard for me to focus on the Tigers, but we'll lock in for the Pistons here. Very excited to see what they can do. I mean, #1 team in the East. Why not? Why can't we win an NBA championship this year? Pistons Mania in April. Sign me up. Frankie Hoops checking in. Checking in, baby. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And I'll keep crying and bitching about the Red Wings until the season's done, and probably even beyond that. And for everybody that messages me and says, like, why do you still watch this team? Like, because they're my fucking team. And that's what we do. Like, we cover the sports and we watch all the sports and we commiserate together. And if you don't want to look at it, don't. But I'm going to be here crying about the Red Wings, and I'm checking in on the Pistons, all right? Cade's back. Frankie Hoops is locked in. We're going to the NBA championship. All right, that's episode 5 of To Be Frank. Appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully see you next week.
Yeah!